that? I did it! I finally got to it. It's been on request since the beginning of the outbreak. It was shipped to me since the beginning of the outbreak, and then things happened, so... Let's talk about The Invisible Man. Elisabeth Moss is one of the best actresses alive right now. The Handmaid's Tale, and now The Invisible Man. You know, I was very shocked when I found out that they were making this because, well, you saw my trailer reaction to it. I was totally expecting this movie to be a big flop. You know those horror films that come out in January and they're all just a big bunch of disasters. Well, this was surprisingly not a disaster, and to be honest, kind of bummed out that I missed out on it, but before the outbreak, I was working a lot. But other than that, better late than never, like they say. The Invisible Man. Well, it is about a lady trying to get out of an abusive relationship. Little does she know, her ex-fiancé or her ex-boyfriend has invented a really good invisibility machine, or a kind of like a wetsuit that turns him invisible, literally. It is one of the best remakes I've ever seen, actually. I thought, like I said, I thought this was going to be a disaster. I actually enjoyed it. And as you can see right there, Rotten Tomatoes says it's a fresh score. Honestly, I don't really follow with what Rotten Tomatoes says. I just listen to what the audience says. And anyways, The Invisible Man is about a lady trying to get out of an abusive relationship. But one of the biggest problems that I have with this horror film, it follows one of the most common used tropes in horror film history. Her close friends and loved ones don't believe her at all. Over the course of the movie, she tries to convince people that her ex-boyfriend didn't kill himself. He is alive, he's well, and he's stalking her. You know, you can't help but feel bad for Elisabeth Moss's character. You just can't help but feel bad. And you just can't help to cheer for our bad guy, who's her ex, to die. You can't help but actually cheer for her ex to die. Honestly, I've never felt so satisfied with a movie ending before. On WatchMojo.com, which is one of my all-time favorite websites, they called The Invisible Man the best film of 2020 so far. I agree. This was really good. One criticism, though, that I have for The Invisible Man is the music. There were scenes where the music was intense, and then there were scenes where there was absolutely no music at all. I found myself having a much better experience with no music at all. In fact, they should have just not put a soundtrack to this. I'm sorry, fans of soundtracks, I'm a fan of soundtrack, but I think for future horror films, there should never be soundtracks for horror films, because it kind of takes the realism out of it. You ever seen No Country for Old Men? No music at all in that movie. And it was the realism of No Country for Old Men with no music that made me sit on the edge of my chair throughout the entire film. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind watching this again. I wouldn't mind watching this over and over again. I'm just gonna give it 8 out of 10 film cameras. And I say 8 because there's a lot of scenes with the music, and the music kind of takes the fun out of it. So that's really all I want to say about The Invisible Man. And not to mention, it was a surprise hit, so I'm quite satisfied with how things went, ignoring the music, of course. That's it for today. Let's see what happens in my next review.